The transport shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, and Una Park stepped onto the polished metal floor of Station Helix 7. She stood still for a moment, letting her eyes adjust to the bright white lights that filled the massive docking bay. Around her, aliens of all shapes and sizes moved in every direction. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others floated through the air or crawled along the walls. The Galactic Fleet Academy was the most famous military school in the entire coalition, and it trained the best soldiers from 12 different species. Una was the first human to ever teach here. She was 34 years old, with short black hair and dark brown eyes that noticed everything. She wore the standard gray uniform of a coalition commander, but on her shoulder was a small patch that showed Earth, a blue and green circle that most aliens here had never seen in person. She carried only a single bag. Everything she needed was inside her head. The walk from the docking bay to the main building took 15 minutes. Una used this time to study her new home. The station was enormous, built inside a hollowed-out asteroid that floated at the edge of the Helix Nebula. Through the transparent ceiling, she could see the swirling purple and blue clouds of the nebula, beautiful and cold. The corridors were wide enough for the largest species to pass through comfortably. The walls displayed holographic signs in 20 different languages, including English. Aliens stared at her as she walked. Some whispered to each other. A group of young cadets, tall, blue-skinned beings with 4 eyes, stopped talking completely when she passed them. Una kept her face calm and friendly, but inside she understood what those stares meant. Humans had only joined the coalition 15 years ago. To most of these species, Earth was a strange and frightening place. And humans were primitive creatures who had barely learned to travel between stars. She found the Admiral's office on the top floor of the main tower. The door slid open automatically, and she walked inside. Admiral Vorath of the Selenari stood behind a curved desk made of some dark material that Una did not recognize. He was tall, nearly 3 meters, with silver skin that seemed to glow faintly in the light. He had 4 arms, each ending in long, delicate fingers. His eyes were large and completely black, without any white parts. When he spoke, his voice sounded like music, but there was no warmth in it. "Commander Park," he said, "you arrived on schedule. That is acceptable." Una saluted in the coalition style, touching her right hand to her left shoulder. "Admiral Vorath, thank you for the opportunity to serve here." Vorath made a sound that might have been a laugh, but it was hard to tell. "Opportunity, yes. That is one way to describe it." He walked slowly around his desk, all 4 of his arms folded behind his back. "I will be honest with you, Commander. Many members of the Coalition Council did not want you here. Many of my fellow admirals believe that humans are not ready for such responsibilities. Your species is young. Your technology is borrowed. Your history is filled with violence against your own kind." Una kept her expression neutral. "I understand, Admiral. Do you?" Vorath stopped in front of her, looking down from his great height. "The Galactic Fleet Academy has trained the finest military officers in the Coalition for over 2,000 years. Our graduates have led fleets, won wars, and shaped the future of entire civilizations. And now, for the first time, we have a human instructor." He paused. "Your position here is probationary. One mistake, one failure, and you will be sent back to Earth. Do you understand this?" "Yes, Admiral. Good." Vorath returned to his desk and touched a panel. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing a schedule. "Your first class begins tomorrow morning. Advanced Combat Tactics. 23 cadets from 6 different species. 3 of them are human." Una looked at the display. She memorized the names, the species, and the room number in a few seconds. This was a skill that humans developed naturally. Their brains were designed to process large amounts of information quickly. A survival trait from their dangerous homeworld. "Is there anything else, Admiral?" she asked. Vorath studied her with those dark, unreadable eyes. The previous instructor for this class was a Vexorian. He served for 40 years before retiring. The cadets respected him greatly. They will not respect you. Not at first. Perhaps not ever. He waved one of his hands in a gesture of dismissal. You are assigned to quarters on level 7. Report to your class at the scheduled time. That is all. Una saluted again and left the office. Her quarters were small but comfortable. A bed, a desk, a bathroom, and a window that looked out at the nebula. She set her bag on the bed and stood at the window for a long time. Watching the distant stars dot, she thought about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests, about the cities filled with billions of humans, about her parents, her sister, her friends, all of them so far away now, living their lives under a yellow sun while she stood on the edge of known space. She thought about why she was here. 15 years ago, humanity had made first contact with the Coalition. It had not gone well at first. The aliens had looked at Earth and seen a death world, a planet with crushing gravity, extreme temperatures, violent weather, and an atmosphere filled with a corrosive gas called oxygen. They had looked at humans and seen survivors of that terrible place, creatures built for endurance and violence. Some aliens had wanted to quarantine Earth, to keep humans contained before they could spread across the galaxy like a disease, but cooler heads had prevailed. Humanity had been allowed to join the Coalition, though with many restrictions. They could trade with other species. They could travel between stars. But they could not hold positions of authority or influence. They were newcomers, primitives, a young species that needed to prove itself. Una was here to begin that proof. Tomorrow, she would stand in front of a classroom full of cadets who had been taught their entire lives that humans were inferior. She would teach them combat tactics while they looked at her with contempt or pity or fear. She would face their challenges and their insults and their doubts, and she would show them what it meant to be Earthborn. She turned away from the window and began to unpack her bag. Inside were a few changes of clothes, some personal items, and a small photograph in a metal frame. The photograph showed a group of soldiers standing in front of a ruined building, their faces dirty and tired but smiling. Una was in the center, younger then. Holding a rifle that was almost as big as she was, she placed the photograph on her desk where she could see it every morning. Then she lay down on her bed and closed her eyes. Tomorrow would be a long day. She needed rest, but as she drifted toward sleep, she smiled. Let them underestimate her. Let them think she was weak. She had faced worse enemies than prejudice. She had survived worse places than this cold station in space. She was human. She was Earthborn, and she never, ever gave up. The classroom was a large circular room with seats arranged in rising rows around a central platform. When Una walked in, 23 pairs of eyes turned to look at her. Some of those eyes were curious. Some were hostile. And 3 pairs, the human cadets sitting together in the back row, were filled with desperate hope. Una walked to the center platform and stood there calmly, her hands clasped behind her back. She looked at each cadet in turn, taking a moment to match faces with the names she had memorized the night before. There was Hyan Wukang, a 19-year-old human boy from Earth's Sol orbital station. He was small for a human, with a thin face and nervous eyes. His academy records showed excellent test scores, but poor physical performance. The other human cadets were Jiwan Li, a tall girl with athletic build and a reputation for speaking her mind, and Somin Choi, a quiet young woman who had scored highest in her class on technical examinations. The alien cadets came from 5 different species. There were Selenari like Admiral Vorath, with their silver skin and 4 arms. There were Kreloks, massive beings covered in thick brown fur with faces like earth bears. There were Mindari, small floating creatures that communicated through color changes in their skin. There were Tethani, insect-like beings with compound eyes and clicking voices. And there were Vexorians. The Vexorians had opposed human admission to the coalition from the very beginning. They were reptilian beings with iridescent scales that shifted color with their emotions, long tails, and quick reflexes. Their homeworld was a paradise compared to Earth's gentle weather, stable temperatures, no predators. They had evolved intelligence without struggle, and they looked down on species that had not been so fortunate. The leader of the Vexorian cadets was a young male named Thalas. His scales were a deep purple color, a sign of high status among his people. He sat in the front row with two other Vexorians, and when Yuna's eyes met his, he did not look away. Instead, he smiled a cold, mocking smile that showed rows of small, sharp teeth. "Good morning," Yuna said. Her voice was calm and clear. "I am Commander Yuna Park. I will be your instructor for advanced combat tactics this semester." Silence. The kind of silence that was louder than any noise. Thalas leaned back in his seat. "A human instructor," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "How interesting. Perhaps she can teach us how to throw rocks at each other. Or maybe how to paint pictures on cave walls." Some of the alien cadets laughed. Not all of them, but enough. The Vexorians laughed the loudest. In the back row, Hyanwu's hands tightened into fists, but he said nothing. Jiwan opened her mouth to speak, but Soman touched her arm and shook her head. Yuna did not react to the insult. She simply looked at Thalas with an expression that gave nothing away. "Cadet Thalas," she said, "since you seem so confident in your abilities, perhaps you would like to demonstrate something for the class." Thalas's scale shifted to a brighter purple pleasure, arrogance. "Demonstrate what?" "A simple exercise. The standard disarmament technique from your homeworld." Yuna stepped back from the center of the platform and spread her arms. "On me." Murmurs rippled through the classroom. The alien cadets exchanged glances. Even the other Vexorians looked surprised. Thalas stood slowly. He was tall for his species, nearly 2 meters, and he moved with the liquid grace of a natural predator. "You want me to attack you?" "I want you to demonstrate proper technique," Yuna said. "Unless you are afraid." That was the right word to use. Vexorians could not stand to be thought of as afraid. Thalis's scales flickered red for just a moment, anger, before returning to purple. He walked down the steps to the central platform, his tail swishing behind him. "Very well, Commander," he said. "But do not blame me if you get hurt." He reached to his belt and drew his training weapon, a scanner bolt pistol. It was not a real weapon. It fired a small ball of contained energy that would not cause permanent damage, but it would sting badly if it hit. All cadets carried them for training exercises. Yuna did not move. She stood with her arms at her sides, relaxed, waiting. Thalas raised the pistol and aimed at her chest. "I will give you one chance to change your mind." "Fire when ready," Yuna said. He fired without any more warning. The scanner bolt was fast. Vexorian weapons were designed for their quick reflexes, and the energy projectile crossed the distance between Thalas and Yuna in less than a quarter of a second. No human should have been able to react in time. No human should have been able to move fast enough. Yuna's hand moved. She snatched the bolt out of the air. Her fingers closed around the small ball of crackling energy as if she was catching a thrown fruit. The containment field sparked and hissed against her palm, but it did not break. She held it there, in her hand, while the entire classroom stared in complete shock. Even Thalas could not hide his surprise. His scales shifted through several colors, purple to white to gray confusion, disbelief, fear. Yuna looked at the captured bolt in her hand, then looked at Thalas. Her expression was still calm, still controlled, but there was something in her eyes now. Something ancient and dangerous. "Earthborn," she said quietly. "We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day. Predators hunted us. Diseases attacked us. The weather destroyed our homes. The ground shook and swallowed our cities. And when nothing else could kill us, we killed each other. She squeezed the bolt in her hand, and it shattered into sparks that fell to the floor like dying stars. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the fastest. We are not the smartest. But we are still here. We survived everything our world threw at us, and we are still here. She stepped closer to Thalos, and he actually stepped back. The great confident Victorian cadet, backing away from a small human woman. "Try again," Una said. Thalos did not try again. He returned to his seat without another word, his scales a dull gray color that meant shame. Una turned to face the rest of the class. The cadets were staring at her with new eyes. The fear was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Respect, maybe. Or at least the beginning of it. "This semester," Una continued as if nothing unusual had happened, "you will learn that combat is not about strength or speed or technology. Combat is about will. It is about refusing to give up when everything tells you that you have already lost. It is about finding a way to win when there is no way to win." She looked at the human cadets in the back row. Hyan Wu was sitting up straighter now. Jiwan was smiling. Soman was taking notes, her eyes bright with interest. "I do not care what species you are," Una said. "I do not care where you come from or what advantages you were born with. In my class, you will learn to fight like Earthborn. You will learn to survive. And if you work hard and pay attention, you might just learn to win." She picked up a control device from the podium and pressed a button. A holographic display appeared in the air, showing a complex tactical scenario. "Now," she said, "let us begin." The class lasted 2 hours. It was the most intense 2 hours of instruction any of those cadets had ever experienced. Una pushed them hard, asking questions that had no easy answers, presenting problems that seemed impossible to solve. She praised good ideas and corrected bad ones with equal calm. She never raised her voice, never lost her temper, never showed frustration. But she also never let them forget what she had done at the start of class. Every time a cadet hesitated, every time someone said something was impossible, she would look at them with those dark human eyes and say nothing. The memory of the caught bolt spoke for her. By the end of the class, the cadets were exhausted but energized. Even the Vexorians were paying attention. Though Thalos refused to meet Una's eyes. As the cadets filed out, Hyan Wu lingered near the door. He wanted to say something, to thank her, to ask her how she had done it, to tell her how much it meant to see a human stand tall in front of all those aliens. But Una was already preparing for her next class, and Hyan Wu was too shy to interrupt. So he left with the others, carrying something new inside his chest. Hope. Real hope. For the first time since he had arrived at the academy, maybe humans really did belong among the stars. The story spread through the academy like fire through dry grass. By the end of the first day, every cadet on Station Helix 7 had heard about the human instructor who caught a scanner bolt with her bare hand. By the end of the second day, the story had grown. Some versions said she caught 3 bolts. Others said she had crushed the pistol itself. A few wild versions claimed she had thrown Thalos across the room with a single finger. Una heard the rumors but did not comment on them. She had more important things to do. Her third class session began like the others. The cadets took their seats, and Una stood on the central platform. But today, instead of starting with tactical exercises, she touched a control panel and filled the air with holographic images. The images showed Earth. Beautiful. Terrible Earth. Blue oceans that covered most of the surface. Green and brown landmasses spotted with the gray marks of human cities. White clouds swirling through an atmosphere that would kill most alien species within minutes. "This is my homeworld," Una said. "Many of you have heard things about Earth. Today, I will tell you the truth." She moved her hand, and the image changed. Now it showed a massive storm, a hurricane, spinning like a slow wheel of destruction across an ocean. Then an earthquake, buildings collapsing into rubble. Then a volcano, throwing fire and ash into the sky. Then a flood, then a drought, then a blizzard that buried entire cities in ice. Earth is a death world, Una continued. Not because of any single danger, but because of all of them together. Our planet has unstable geology, extreme weather patterns, and climate zones that range from burning deserts to frozen wastelands. The gravity is 1.8 times the galactic standard. The atmosphere contains a highly reactive gas called oxygen that corrodes most materials over time. Our sun bombards us with radiation that causes cellular damage. The alien cadets watched in silence. Some of them had known these facts before, but seeing the images made everything more real. This was not just data in a file. This was a place where billions of humans actually lived. But the planet is not the worst part, Una said. She changed the image again. Now the hologram showed animals. A great white shark, its mouth full of rows of teeth. A tiger, its eyes glowing in the darkness. A pack of wolves surrounding a fleeing deer. Snakes and spiders and scorpions and bears and crocodiles and dozens of other creatures designed by evolution to kill. Every ecosystem on Earth is filled with predators, Una explained. Creatures that hunt and kill to survive. For millions of years, humans were prey. We were small, weak, and slow compared to the animals that wanted to eat us. We had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. We should have gone extinct long ago. She paused and looked at her students. Haiyan Wu was leaning forward in his seat, fascinated. Even Phallus was paying attention, though he tried to hide it. But we did not go extinct, Una said. Do you know why? A Selenari cadet raised one of his 4 hands. Your brains. Human intelligence is above galactic average. That is part of it, Una agreed. But intelligence alone is not enough. The Mindari are more intelligent than humans, but they evolved on a peaceful world and never developed the instincts for violence. They needed allies to protect them when they first traveled to space. She nodded to the small floating creatures in the class who changed color in acknowledgement. No, humans survived because of something else. Something that is very hard to measure or quantify. She changed the hologram again. Now it showed human history. Wars and battles stretching back thousands of years. Soldiers in ancient armor fighting with swords. Soldiers in modern armor fighting with rifles. Ships sinking, cities burning, armies marching across frozen mountains and burning deserts. We survived because we refused to stop, Una said. When a predator attacked our tribe, we did not run away. We found a way to kill it. When disease swept through our population, we did not accept death. We found a way to cure it. When our own kind made war against us, we did not surrender. We fought back until we won or until we died. She turned off the hologram and faced the class directly. This is what it means to be Earthborn. It is not about physical strength or speed or technology. It is about will. The absolute refusal to give up, no matter how bad things get. The determination to survive at any cost. Jiwan raised her hand. Commander, you keep saying we. But humans are very different from each other. Not all humans are soldiers. Una smiled. It was the first time the cadets had seen her smile, and it transformed her face. You are correct, Cadet Lee. Most humans will never fight in a war or face a predator or survive a natural disaster. But the instincts are still there, buried deep in our biology. Every human carries the survival code of 100,000 generations. When pushed to the edge, when everything seems lost, that code activates. We become something more than we normally are. She walked to the edge of the platform and looked up at the rows of cadets. This is what I am here to teach you, she said. Not human fighting techniques, those are simple enough to learn from any manual. I am here to teach you the human way of thinking. The way of looking at an impossible situation and finding a way through it anyway. The way of turning defeat into victory through pure stubborn refusal to accept failure. After class, the 3 human cadets approached Yuna together. This time, they did not hesitate. "Commander Park," Soman said, "how did you catch that bolt?" "I have studied Vexorian weapons. They fire at nearly 400 meters per second. No human should be able to react that fast." Yuna looked at her with something like approval. "You are correct, Cadet Choi. No human should be able to react that fast under normal circumstances." But circumstances were not normal. She held up her hand, showing them her palm. There was a small red mark there, a burn from the contained energy of the bolt. "Earth's gravity is 1.8 times the galactic standard," she said. "Our muscles are designed to work against that gravity every moment of every day. When we leave Earth, when we go to places with lower gravity, our muscles do not change. They are still built for a heavier world. This makes us stronger and faster than species that evolved in lighter conditions." Hyenwoo's eyes widened. "So you are saying that we are actually physically superior to most aliens?" "In some ways," Yuna said carefully. "But do not let that make you arrogant. Physical advantages mean nothing without proper training and discipline. The Vexorians have faster natural reflexes than humans. The Krelloks are stronger. The Selenari can process information faster with their multiple brain centers. Every species has advantages and disadvantages." She looked at each of them in turn. "What makes humans special is not any single advantage. It is the combination. Strength, speed, endurance, intelligence, adaptability, and above all, the will to survive. When all of these things work together, when a human is pushed to their limit and refuses to break, that is when we become truly dangerous." Jiwan crossed her arms. "Then why do the other species look down on us? If we are so capable, why are humans treated like primitives?" "Because they have never seen us at our best," Yuna replied. "They have only seen us at peace, trying to fit into their society, following their rules. They have never faced a human in a real fight for survival." Her smile returned, smaller this time, with an edge to it. "By the end of this semester, that will change." She looked past them, toward the door where other cadets were still leaving. "Now go get some rest. Tomorrow we begin serious training. I am going to push you harder than you have ever been pushed before. If you are not ready to suffer, tell me now, and I will excuse you from my class." The 3 humans looked at each other. Then, as one, they shook their heads. "We are ready," Hyenwoo said. His voice was quiet, but there was something new in it. Determination. The first spark of the fire that burned in every Earthborn heart. Yuna nodded. "Good, then I will see you tomorrow." She watched them leave, and for a moment, her professional calm slipped away. In their place, she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Pride that these young humans had come to an alien station, surrounded by species that looked down on them, and they had not broken. They had not given up. They were still standing, still fighting, still reaching for a future among the stars. They were Earthborn, and she was going to make sure the entire galaxy remembered what that meant. 3 weeks passed. Yuna's classes became the most talked about sessions in the entire academy. Cadets who were not even enrolled in advanced combat tactics found excuses to walk past the classroom doors, hoping to catch a glimpse of the human instructor who had humiliated a Vexorian on her first day. But not everyone was happy about Yuna's growing reputation. Admiral Vorath sat in his office, his 4 hands pressed together in a gesture that meant deep frustration among his people. Across from him stood Ambassador Kareth, a high-ranking Vexorian whose scales were the same deep purple as his son Thalis. "This is unacceptable," Kareth said. His voice was a low hiss. "A human making fools of Vexorian cadets? Teaching as if she belongs among civilized species? This brings shame to the entire coalition. Vorath made a calming gesture with one of his hands. The human has done nothing against regulations. Her methods are unusual, but her results are impressive. The cadets are learning. I do not care about results, Kareth snapped. I care about proper order. Humans should know their place. They are newcomers, primitives, barely capable of building their own starships. They should not be teaching our children. The Admiral was silent for a moment. His dark eyes revealed nothing. What do you propose? Kareth's scales shifted to a lighter shade satisfaction. The fleet trials are in 6 weeks. Every year, cadets from all species compete in tests of skill and knowledge. The results affect their careers for the rest of their lives. He paused. What if the human cadets were to fail? Dramatically and publicly? Vorath tilted his head. You are suggesting sabotage. I am suggesting that certain technical problems might occur during the trials. Problems that would make it appear the human cadets cheated or were incompetent. Either way, the result would be the same. The human instructor would be disgraced. Her students would be expelled. And the Coalition Council would have the evidence they need to reconsider Earth's membership. The Admiral was quiet for a long time. He did not like humans. He had voted against their admission to the Coalition and had fought against the decision to allow a human instructor at his academy. But he was also a creature of rules and procedures. Sabotage went against everything he believed in. This is dangerous, he finally said. If we are discovered, we will not be discovered, Kareth interrupted. I have allies among 4 different species, all of whom share our concerns about human expansion. The plan is already in motion. I am not asking for your help, Admiral. I am simply informing you that this will happen, with or without your approval. Vorath's 4 arms tightened against his body. He recognized a threat when he heard one. Very well, he said stiffly. I will not interfere. But if this fails, I will deny any knowledge of it. Of course, Kareth said with a cold smile. That is understood. Meanwhile, Somin Choi was having trouble sleeping. For the past week, she had noticed strange things in the Academy's computer systems. Small inconsistencies in data logs. Encrypted files that appeared and disappeared. Communication signals that did not match any official channels. Somin was not just good with technology. She was exceptional. Her scores in computer systems and electronic warfare were the highest in her class. Higher even than the Selenari cadets who had been working with advanced computers since before Earth had electricity. When she noticed something wrong with the system, she was usually right. Tonight, she sat in her small quarters. Her personal computer tablet connected to the Academy's network through a dozen different relay points that hid her identity. She was doing something very illegal. She was hacking into the encrypted communications of senior officers. What she found made her blood turn cold. There were messages between Ambassador Kareth and officers from 4 different species. The messages discussed something called Operation Cleanse, a plan to sabotage the fleet trials and disgrace the human cadets. The technical details were extensive. Hidden code would be inserted into the scoring systems. Weapons would malfunction at critical moments. Evidence would be planted to make it look like the humans had cheated. And there was more. The conspiracy went beyond just embarrassing a few cadets. The real goal was to create enough scandal to force Earth's expulsion from the Coalition entirely. With humans gone, the anti-Earth faction could expand their influence and block any future species that they considered too dangerous or too primitive. Somin copied everything she could find onto a secure data chip. Then she erased all traces of her activity and disconnected from the network. She did not sleep at all that night. The next morning, she went to find Commander Park. Yuna's quarters were on level 7, as the Admiral had specified. Somin knocked on the door and waited, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never broken the rules like this before. If she was caught, she would be expelled at minimum, maybe even prosecuted for espionage. The door opened. Yuna stood there in casual clothes, a cup of some hot drink in her hand. Her dark eyes studied Summon's face for only a second before she stepped aside. "Come in. Cadet Choi, you look like you have something important to say." Summon entered and waited until the door closed behind her. Then she held out the data chip. "I found something, Commander. Something bad. I know I should not have been looking, but I noticed problems in the computer systems, and I had to investigate, and now I have evidence of a conspiracy against us, and I do not know what to do." Yuna took the chip calmly. She inserted it into her own computer and read the files in silence. Her face did not change, but Soman saw her hands tighten around the cup. "You did well, Cadet," Yuna finally said. "This took courage. What are we going to do?" Soman asked. "They are going to sabotage the fleet trials. They are going to ruin everything for every human in the coalition." Yuna set down her cup and turned to face the young cadet. "First, we are going to stay calm. Panic helps no one. Second, we are going to think carefully about our options." She paced across the small room, her mind working faster than any computer. "If we take this evidence to the authorities, they will investigate. But Ambassador Kareth has allies in high places. He could delay the investigation until after the trials are over. Or he could claim the evidence is fake, planted by humans to frame innocent aliens. Without proof of his direct involvement, it becomes our word against his." Summon's face fell. "So we cannot do anything?" "I did not say that." Yuna stopped pacing and looked at her. "I said we cannot rely on the authorities. That does not mean we are helpless. It means we have to solve this problem ourselves." "How?" Yuna smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the smile of a predator that had just spotted its prey. "They are planning to sabotage our weapons during the trials," she said. "They expect us to rely on coalition technology, to follow coalition tactics, to fight the way they have taught us to fight. They have prepared for that version of human cadets." She walked to her desk and picked up the old photograph, the one showing soldiers in front of a ruined building. "They have not prepared for Earthborn." Soman did not understand. "What do you mean?" "I mean that for the next 6 weeks, I am going to teach you and the other human cadets something that is not in any coalition manual. I am going to teach you how to fight like humans really fight. Not with fancy weapons or advanced technology. With our hands. With our brains. With whatever we can find and use as weapons." Yuna's eyes were bright with a fierce light. "When their sabotage activates and our equipment fails, we will not be helpless. We will be ready. And we will show them what Earthborn are capable of when our backs are against the wall." She put down the photograph and turned to Soman. "Gather the others. Hyan Wu and Jiwan. Tell them to come here tonight, after lights out. We have work to do." Soman nodded. For the first time since she had found the conspiracy, she felt something other than fear. She felt hope. And underneath the hope, something older and darker. Something that had been sleeping in her blood since her ancestors first stood up on the plains of Africa and refused to be prey. She felt the fire of an Earthborn preparing for war. The day of the fleet trials arrived with all the ceremony and spectacle that the coalition could produce. Station Helix 7 was filled with visitors from across the galaxy, diplomats, military commanders, journalists, and curious citizens who had traveled light years to watch the best young cadets compete for glory. The main arena was a massive chamber at the heart of the station, reconfigured for the combat simulation that was the centerpiece of the trials. Holographic projectors lined every surface, ready to create any environment the judges chose. Observation platforms floated above the arena floor, filled with thousands of spectators. Ambassador Kareth sat in a private box near the top of the chamber, surrounded by his allies from the conspiracy. His scales were a bright, confident purple. Everything was ready. The hidden code was in place. The moment the human cadets activated their weapons, the malfunction would begin. On the arena floor, the cadets prepared for competition. Teams from each species gathered in designated areas, checking their equipment and reviewing strategies. The human team Haiyan Wu, Jiwan, and Soman stood in their assigned corner, looking small and ordinary compared to the massive Krulok's team or the elegant Selinari squad, but appearances could be deceiving. For the past 6 weeks, the 3 humans had trained in secret with Commander Park. They had learned fighting techniques that the Coalition had never seen, ancient martial arts from Earth's long history of warfare. They had practiced improvisation, using ordinary objects as weapons. They had studied the arena and memorized every maintenance tunnel, every gravity plate, every system that could be exploited. They had prepared for their weapons to fail. They were counting on it. The signal sounded, and the trials began. The first event was a navigation challenge, testing the cadets' ability to find their way through a simulated environment. The second was a technical puzzle that required teamwork and quick thinking. The humans did well in both, surprising many observers who had expected them to struggle. But the third event was the one that mattered. The combat simulation. The arena transformed around them. Holographic walls rose from the floor, creating a maze of corridors and rooms that stretched in every direction. The environment was a ruined city, broken buildings, collapsed streets, debris everywhere. Perfect terrain for the kind of chaos that Kareth's conspiracy needed. The rules were simple. Each team started at a different point in the arena. The goal was to capture a central objective while eliminating opposing teams. Last team standing 1. Haiyan Wu held his standard issue rifle and waited. His heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. Beside him, Jiwan had a similar weapon, while Soman carried a technical kit for hacking and support. "Remember the plan," Haiyan Wu said quietly. "When the weapons fail, we adapt." The starting signal flashed, and all the teams moved at once. The first few minutes went according to normal patterns. Teams advanced through the maze, searching for each other and for the central objective. The human team moved carefully, staying together, watching each other's backs. Then, exactly as they had predicted, their weapons failed. Haiyan Wu pulled the trigger on his rifle. Nothing happened. He tried again. The weapon was completely dead, its internal systems frozen by the hidden code that Kareth's people had planted. In the observation platforms above, Kareth's scales turned bright with satisfaction. The other conspirators exchanged pleased glances. The human team would be helpless now, easy targets for the other species. But on the arena floor, Haiyan Wu simply dropped his useless rifle and smiled. "Now," he said. The humans scattered like shadows. Jiwan reached a maintenance panel that she had memorized the location of. Within seconds, she had opened it and disconnected 3 specific cables. The lights in this section of the arena flickered and died. Plunging everything into darkness, Soman activated her personal device, a small tool that seemed harmless but had been modified over the past 6 weeks. She sent a pulse through the arena's lighting system, creating a pattern of flashing lights in a distant corridor. To the other teams, it looked like weapons fire. 2 squads changed direction to investigate, leaving the path to the center open. And Haiyan Wu moved through the darkness like a ghost. He had practiced this countless times. Moving without sound, seeing without light, fighting without weapons. The techniques Commander Park had taught him came from thousands of years of human warfare, the skills of warriors who had faced enemies in the dark. In the rain, in conditions where technology meant nothing, he found the Vexorian team first. Thalas and his 2 companions were advancing through a corridor, their advanced optical systems compensating for the lack of light. They moved confidently, their weapons ready, completely unaware of the small human following them. Haiyan Wu struck without warning. He came from behind. wrapping a length of cable around the first Vexorian's arms and pulling tight. Before the alien could react, Haiyan Wu had pushed him into the second Vexorian, sending them both crashing to the ground. Their weapons discharged harmlessly into the ceiling. Thalas spun around, raising his weapon. But Haiyan Wu was already moving, ducking under the shot and coming up inside the Vexorian's guard. He grabbed Thalas's weapon arm with both hands and twisted, using a leverage technique that humans had perfected centuries ago. The weapon clattered to the ground. "Your weapons don't work," Thalas hissed, his scales white with shock. "What will you do now, primitive?" Haiyan Wu smiled. It was Commander Park's smile. "Earthborn," he said. "We don't need weapons." The fight lasted 11 seconds. Thalas was faster, but Haiyan Wu had trained for this exact situation. He used the Vexorian's momentum against him, redirecting strikes instead of blocking them, always moving, never giving Thalas a chance to use his superior reflexes. When it was over, all 3 Vexorians were on the ground, marked as eliminated by the arena's scoring system. Haiyan Wu did not stop to celebrate. He kept moving. Across the arena, similar scenes were unfolding. Jiwan had found a Selenari squad trying to regroup after the lights went out. She attacked from above, dropping from a maintenance catwalk with a zero-gravity spin kick that sent 2 of them tumbling. The others tried to fight back, but in the darkness, their advantages meant nothing. Jiwan's earth-trained muscles were stronger, her movements more brutal, her will unbreakable. Soman had hacked the arena's communication system. She fed false signals to 3 different teams, making each one think the others were attacking. While they fought each other in confusion, she slipped past them all and reached the central objective. The human team reunited at the center of the arena just as the lights came back on. They were dirty, breathing hard, but standing. Around them lay the marked bodies of eliminated cadets from half a dozen species. The final opposing team, a group of Krulloks, the largest and physically strongest species in the coalition, charged toward them. The massive furry beings roared their battle cries. Certain that 3 small humans would break before their assault. They were wrong. The humans fought as a unit, covering each other, exploiting every weakness in the Krulloks formation. Soman created distractions while Jiwan struck from the side. Haiyan Wu went straight at the largest Krulloks, dodging clawed swipes that would have torn him apart if they connected, striking at joints and pressure points with precise, devastating efficiency. When the last Krulloks fell, the arena was silent. The scoring system displayed the results. Human team, victory. All opposing teams, eliminated. In the observation platforms, Ambassador Kareth's scales had turned a sickly gray color. His conspiracy had failed. His sabotage had been overcome. And now, in front of thousands of witnesses, 3 young humans had defeated the best cadets from across the coalition, using nothing but their hands and their will. The investigation that followed was swift and thorough. Soman provided her evidence of the conspiracy, and this time, with the public watching and asking questions, the authorities could not ignore it. Admiral Vorath was stripped of his command. Ambassador Kareth was recalled to his homeworld in disgrace. The officers who had participated in Operation Cleanse faced courts-martial, but the humans did not care about revenge. They cared about what came next. The graduation ceremony was held 1 week later. Yuna stood before the assembled cadets, human and alien alike, and spoke. "The universe is vast," she said. "It contains wonders and terrors beyond imagination. Many species out there will look at you and see only what you lack, the technology you have not developed, the history you have not written yet." She paused, her gaze finding her human students. Haiyan Wu stood tall now, his nervous eyes replaced with calm confidence. Jiwan smiled openly, proud and unashamed. Soman was still quiet, but there was strength in her silence. "Let them underestimate you," Yuna continued. "Let them forget where Earthborn come from. Because when the darkness falls and everything seems lost, when the easy species run and the old empires crumble, she smiled the warm smile of a teacher proud of her students, the fierce smile of a warrior who had fought for everything she believed in. Humanity will still be standing. We always are. The applause that followed was the loudest the Academy had ever heard. Aliens who had once looked down on humans now stood and cheered alongside them. The galaxy had learned a lesson that day, one that would not be forgotten for a very long time. Humans were not primitives. They were not weaklings. They were survivors.